let's talk about A Different Man. So
This was a very interesting movie. Yeah. I knew nothing about this movie until your partner told me about this movie.
Yeah.
And she's just said, oh, yeah, this movie it's got Sebastian Stan in it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I've seen him in some stuff. I haven't seen Civil War yet. I mean, Captain America Civil War. But yeah.
Yeah, you've seen Civil War.
No, I have seen Civil War. I'm talking about Winter. Yeah, I'm talking about Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier.
Ah, yeah, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the TV show.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like if you want to give a little brief synopsis.
Yeah, so Sebastian Stan plays a guy named Edward who, at the start of the film, he suffers from facial tumors. But after taking part in an experimental drug trial, Edward is essentially cured of his facial tumors overnight. So he becomes a different man. He becomes Sebastian Stan, really handsome Sebastian Stan. So after this,
y'all know what Sebastian Stan looks like.
Yeah, you get
it. Looks like that now.
So after this, he kind of gets a new lease on life. He almost becomes a different person, but then he becomes fixated on an actor in a stage production based on his life. So an actor named Oswald, played by Adam Pearson, who in real life suffers from facial tumors.
Yeah. What's the name of the...
Neurofibromatosis.
Neurofibromatosis. So just for clarification's sake, we're just going to call it tumors.
Yeah. It causes non-cancerous tumors to grow on the nerve tissue of his face.
Yeah. I really like this movie. I found this movie really funny. When I was first watching it, this was kind of towards the tail end of my trip in Sydney, and we were doing like a lot of walking around and a lot of stuff. So I was getting more fatigued by the day. So when I was watching this movie, I think maybe for the first 30 minutes or so, I was liking what I was seeing, but I was kind of just really tired and not enjoying it as much. But I think there's a point, I think it's after he becomes Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
And then he bumps into Oswald. I think it's where the movie really picks up. And it's really funny. Yeah.
I think Oswald's introduction is a turning point in this film. It's a pretty odd film as well.
Typical A24, which also Kinds of Kindness is also A24 as well. We used to fucking love A24, man. It's hard. Yeah.
With that person, you know.
It's A24.
A24 stands unite.
Man, sometimes I really like a movie and it just happens to be A24, you know. Like for example, in Civil War, I forget that they're A24 movies, but it's like, oh, you're just a fucking A24 fanboy. It's like, nah, man, I actually really like this.
That's all right, man. Like what you like. If you like exclusively A24 films, that's all right. But this I think you're absolutely right. Like the start of this film, where he is undergoing this procedure, it's a totally different tone to when Oswald comes on the scene. Like it's pretty dark at the start. And that's what I like about this film. You don't really know where it's going as well. Like the tone does shift throughout the movie. It goes from kind of like a dark, almost like a body horror situation to just a black comedy. I mean, the character of Oswald is really fun to watch.
Yeah, he's really fun. He's a really great... He is essentially an antagonist in this movie.
Well, everybody in this film is pretty unlikable, but they're unlikable for different reasons. And Oswald is unlikable because he's just the best at everything. He's the guy that's like, he's just better at you than at everything. But he's so humble and nice that you can't really hate him. He's that guy.
It's true. He's too nice, he's too humble, and he's too good at everything that he is just really annoying.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously supposed to be a representation of who Edward used to look like, but what
he could have been.
The difference was just personality. What he could have been, exactly. Because we see Edward at the start of the movie. He's kind of getting weird looks and weird reactions from people. They're kind of talking down to him, and he's very downtrodden, and he lets his, facial tumors get the better of him, because he likes a girl. And she likes him back, but he's always very insecure about, how he looks. So that's why he gets the procedure. But Oswald could like care less about his
and you can
facial
tell
humors.
from the stance as well, like the Edward at the start of the movie, he's got a paunch, he's very hunched over, he's trying to make himself as small as possible basically, but Oswald is on the opposite end of the spectrum. He's like larger than life, he's always the center of attention in the room. He's Edward, but he hasn't let his his appearance kind of take control of his life, so that kind of is why Edward becomes obsessed with him, because he's like, how can this guy be the way he is?
He is, with the way he looks, and it's sometimes it's like if you don't let it bother you, it's the energy that you carry, but it's also just really annoying and frustrating to watch, because Edward, as Sebastian Stan as Edward, is at this point like an unlikable guy. He's just a jealous man. And like it's a kind of minor spoiler, but there's a really funny scene in this movie where he kind of loses it, because there is kind of like a point where because he takes on a new identity, and he's a really good like salesman, like a real estate agent. But there's a point where he kind of loses it, and he kind of has this mask of his old self.
Yeah.
And he puts it onto one of his like house inspections, and he's trying to be exactly like Oswald. And even though he didn't need to be, and it's just really funny to watch. I laughed like so much, and he's like scaring this little girl.
It's so much like, fun seeing a character as handsome as Sebastian Stan get so jealous by a guy that looks like Adam Pearson, that he tries to emulate him. It's a really funny take. And I think both actors, they do a pretty good job. I think, obviously Adam Pearson is a standout, but I think Sebastian Stan does a pretty good job as well.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan does a lot like with his kind of minimal like facial expressions. You can feel you feel so annoyed at Oswald through the lens of Edward through Sebastian Stan, and it's really frustrating to watch. Like, oh, you just want to fucking punch this guy in the face, like shut the fuck up. But Edward at this point, he's not really like a nice guy anymore. Yeah, he's a bit of a jealous dick.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Woody Allen character. I'd say. And this movie does feel like a Woody Allen film, or like a Charlie Kaufman film. I think that's pretty intentional.
It's got that dreamlike tone,
because there is a reference to Woody Allen at the start of the film. So
it kind of reminds me a little bit of Dream Scenario. It's definitely not the same message, but it's got the same kind of mood, and it has a similar ending. It's not a bad ending, but it is just weird. It makes you feel incomplete, I suppose. But not incomplete in the sense that you want to know what's going on, but it's like, is the future going to be any better or worse?
I guess Edward
and
Nicolas Cage's character in Dream Scenario, I forget his name, they do have similar arcs in that they start the film off as a bit of a loser, and then they seemingly get everything that they've dreamed of, but it turns out they're still a loser at the end of the day.
Yeah. Dream Scenario is great. I really enjoyed that movie.
Another A24
really
film.
Funny. Yeah, it's another A24 film.
Of course you love it, Tommy.
God damn it. Yeah. I just love anything A24. Just like, if Atlas was A24, would have loved it. But just like, I like it. Yeah. If you just edited it in A24 at the beginning of Atlas, 5 out of 5. I love this movie. Jennifer Lopez is fantastic. Simu Liu, the best villain of all time. Most threatening villain. Better than Darth Vader. Better than Darth Maul. Whatever. Better than Citizen Kane.
We haven't really talked about the female lead in this film, but she does a good job as well.
She also does a good job in the same way Oswald's character does a good job. She's kind of the attractive neighbor who's quite quirky, but is kind of unintentionally like rude, but then she kind of becomes like a bitch by the end of the
Yeah,
day.
she's a bad person as well.
She's a bad person. Yeah.
And like well played by this name Renate Reinsve. I'm sorry for my pronunciation, but yeah, she plays Ingrid. She's from that movie, The Worst Person in the World. So she's got form at playing like shitty characters, I guess.
Yeah. I've been meaning to watch that movie. I've heard really good things about it, but I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
No, she's good. A lot of nuance to all of these performances.
Yeah, I like her character's motivation, because it's like she's seemingly a good person at the start who is interested in Edward and his struggle, but at the end of the day, she basically steals his story and turns it into a playwright.
Yep.
And then it's like, wait a minute, and then she kind of passes it off as like she knows what Edward is thinking all the time. Yeah. And yeah, she just becomes a bad person by the end of the movie.
Or maybe she was always a bad person, but yes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, everyone is a bad person. Yeah, it's not a very it's not a very happy movie.
It's a lot of fun, though.
Say?
I would say it's a lot of fun.
I think it's great that like the movie is giving a chance for like someone like Adam Pearson, who would not really get that many roles, and then you have him in this like pretty nuanced, dry, dark comedy. Like this is kind of like a highbrow film, I would say as well.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of themes, lots to talk about, and a lot of the humor is just through the awkwardness of all the interactions. And
Yeah, no, good stuff. It's got a pretty ambiguous ending, which I won't talk about because of spoilers, but it leaves a lot open to the interpretation as well, which is always fun.
Yeah. But I don't think there's going to be like a Different Man 2 or anything like that, So I don't think it's that kind of movie.
Yeah, probably
a different
not.
A Different Man, The Revenge or something.
A different woman,
A different woman. Oh, yeah. This sounds like such an 80s idea, and then it'll be like, the tone, it'll be like, I think the first one, it was just a little bit too dark. So we'll get like the typical like, it'll be like Mad Max 3 or Evil Dead 3, where it's like super light, and you have all this like really like whimsical humor, and it's like, you're a real boy now, Edward, or something. It's like,